Hello, and it's almost afternoon. It's 11:11, 1111. So I'm going to take this time to do this video. I doubt it's going to be very long, but after having all of these encounters with Nithyananda's minions, it's time to really do a teaching video and just lay out some facts and some admonitions, etc. As I've stated before, I would never allow any of my students, nor would any guru worth their weight, allow spiritual students to run around the net attacking spiritual teachers in the most foul language they can find to do so. This does not show anything that they have learned anything on a spiritual path. Number one, they are not in a position to be speaking about any spiritual teacher because they don't have the wisdom to do so. One spiritual teacher may speak against another because hopefully they've done the path and they're in a position to understand what they're talking about. There are a lot of teachers out there saying they're enlightened and they're not enlightened. Okay, there are teachers out there that say they are enlightened that are enlightened. Okay, and they will speak out against untruth. Now, when you have spiritual, quote-unquote, spiritual students that don't know the difference and they run out and they're making threats, attacking, they're being very, very foolish at this point. They're very, very foolish because they don't have the wisdom to know fact from fallacy. And they can be getting themselves into very, very, very deep karmic problems, okay? So they need to step back and listen and actually walk a spiritual path, okay? What I see happening with a lot of the Nithyananda people are transference. They see the things going on around him that they don't want to cop to, they don't want to admit is going on, and they transfer it here. Okay. They're not willing to see that he busses in people, feeds them, and then gets them to say good things about him. They transfer it here. Okay. They don't want to see that his weight loss program, that actually he hasn't lost any weight, and he's talking about it, and they're paying a lot of money for this, and they're not seeing that their teacher is not up to his teaching, and they transfer it here. Okay? They're not seeing that he takes things out of context, doesn't understand the spiritual text he's trying to relate to and tell them about, and they transfer it here. All the things that they say are happening here are actually things that their so-called master is doing. They're looking in a mirror of the wrongdoings of the person they're following and paying a lot of money to be taken for a ride. This is transference. It's like they're hypnotized not to see what's happening, and they see his things as something holy and high when they're not. Okay. And then teachers that are actually willing to speak the truth, they put all of his garbage and crap on them, and they're not willing to see it. So anyway, if you're going to be a student, a spiritual student, it's not about going to somebody that's selling a lot of courses and talking a lot of spin and taking spiritual texts which you can read for yourself. And if you sat in contemplative meditation and really asked the universe to open it to you, and you stayed in the heart in a very strong meditation, they would eventually open to you. But instead, you get somebody that wants to fill you with a lot of fantasy and you want to believe it because you spent a lot of money on it. Of course you want to be right. You don't want to find out you're a fool. You've been paying all this money and following somebody that's not genuine. Okay? But it doesn't behoove you to run around the internet attacking other teachers. It doesn't bode you well at all. No spiritual master I've ever been under would advocate that, ever. No genuine spiritual master would. Now, if you have a spiritual master that advocates that you do that, you might want to look at your words about being demonic. Okay? Because that is a demonic action. Okay? So I'm saying, if you're going to be a genuine spiritual student and adept, then this needs to come from your heart in all seriousness to God, to ask to guide you and to open you up to truth. Not chasing the most flamboyant, braggadocious person on the planet. Okay, that's not going to serve you well. It doesn't serve you well to come here and tell me that I'm making money off of him. I don't make money off of anybody. Okay? Again, I don't sell courses. Everything I've given to my students, I give them gratis through the videos, through my book, through my teachings. When we used to have retreats, through the retreats. Okay? It was never a money-making type of an endeavor. Yes, students sometimes give donations. They give them once or twice a year. Some people give something monthly because they appreciate what's being given. They know the benefit in their lives. But never once has somebody been turned away for not giving. Never, ever, ever in this path. Okay? So when you have somebody like Nithyananda that's all about the money, you might want to look at that. Okay? So again, if you're going to be a spiritual student, there are things that you should do and you don't do. Yes, you hold your teacher in high regard. Absolutely. And this is not to say if you're with Nithyananda you won't learn something. You're going to learn something more than likely, but eventually you'll learn that it's not what not to do. Okay, you might learn a very hard lesson a very hard way, but eventually you'll have to hopefully come to some wisdom that you see what you've been following has not been beneficial. It might seem to be beneficial to ego for a while because that's what he plays to. A genuine guru is not going to play to ego. It's going to try to get one to go beyond ego and to break that down to where one is falling away into realization that is the life of all life and the death of all death, that understands the reality. Now, not everyone is ready for that. Found that out the hard way. Okay? As a teacher, one thinks that everyone wants to find realization. They say they want to go to realization, but you find very rapidly they don't. They just want to make their lives better. They want to have more peace. They want to have more happiness. I want to have more control. Well, control and realization do not go in the same sentence. If you're looking to control situations, then you're not looking to go to realization, because that is the path. If you look at Christ, he's a very good example of that path where one has to surrender into what is taking place. One surrenders into the death before death, and then one has that resurrection. It's not fun. Any traditional spiritual path, you will feel like you are being crucified. That is no joke. Okay, one will go through the temptations. As Christ went through temptations, you will go through the temptations, you will go through the fears, you will go through all of those things on your path They are things that have to be transitioned through in order to enter realization. It's not about learning more egotistical things of control. I can control this, I can control that, I can do this, I can do that, and I'm going to become a God. Okay. The persona is never God. Never has been God, never will be God. That is the fallacy. The personal story is the fallacy. Okay. So again, if you're going to be a spiritual student, then you find a teacher and you listen to them. You take their words and you follow it and you do what's needed. Okay? But you never disrespect your former teachers. You never disrespect any spiritual teacher. That is absolutely foolishness and demonic behavior. It is not the behavior of a genuine spiritual sadhak. Okay? Just not. So I want to caution his people about that because they have, again, the most foulest mouths I've ever seen. Okay? They don't know the difference between realization and fantasy. They can't judge what's a genuine teacher versus what's not. So they need to bite their tongues and do their path where they are. Okay? This goes for any student. As my students know, I would never, never, never allow in a million years for any student to talk to any teacher the way that his students speak to me. If any one of them had ever done that, I would say you're not ready for the path at all. Okay, come back when you're ready. Okay, because that just blatantly shows not a spiritual mindset, not somebody that is, contemplative, meditative, that's doing their own journey and focusing on themselves and what they need to transcend. Okay, that's somebody that's playing a game and hasn't gotten serious yet. Okay. Here, I only take students that were very serious, and things have gotten much lighter over the years because, again, like I said, I've seen that most people are not ready for realization. They're really not wanting to walk that path because it takes a lot of sacrifice along the way. Okay? And so that's well and good. Where anybody's at, eventually they will come to that place and they will take a shift into that. But if you're not ready, you're not ready. Okay? Point blank, because it is a very difficult path to be on, and it's not something that happens within a year, 2 years. It takes lifetimes and then a full lifetime of dedication, absolutely 100%, and a willingness to surrender into that death before death. Okay? Not an easy thing to do. Not easy to go through all the layers and levels of consciousness. Not easy to traverse and go through every one of those types of realms and situations that one has to encounter and go through in order to finally be within that wisdom. Okay. There are many paths, many ways, many teachings, many teachers. Okay. There's not a one single way. Okay. You don't like the way that it's taught here, fine, don't come here. It's that simple. Very easy. Don't come here. And just because you're with somebody that says, again, be vegetarian, whatever, If you look at the Tibetan Buddhists, they are not vegetarians. Not even the Dalai Lama is a vegetarian. Okay? Not even the Dalai Lama is in stillness of mind. He's said, I've heard there are those. I have heard there are those that have reached to that. I am one of those who has reached to that stillness of mind, going the whole way of Kundalini. If you understand the Tibetan traditions and the ones that are hidden in the mountains and they don't speak about it, I guarantee they are not teaching vegetarianism. Okay? Just because you don't understand this path doesn't mean that it's not a genuine path. It's not the path for you. Not at this time, not in this lifetime. So be on your way. Okay? Anyway, I just wish everybody the best. And I just want to put this admonition out for anyone that says they are a spiritual student. That if you are a spiritual student, you have no business to come against any spiritual teacher. Wait until you come to the end of your path and you've entered into realization, and then you know the truth from the fallacy. Then you can open your mouth and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Okay? Until that point in time, you're not ready to criticize anything or anyone. Okay? So I just want to put that out there. Again, when you come forward to spiritual teachers and you're threatening them and tell them they're not going to live and they're going to have karma and they're going to have this, that is going to bounce right back on you. It's going to impede your spiritual search. So don't do it. Be smart. Don't do it. Keep your own counsel. Be quiet. Go within. Meditate. Study the scriptures. Absolutely dedicate yourself to God and to finding what is the truth of being. Okay? Leave everything else alone. That's my admonition to you. Hopefully some have actually watched this rather than just seeing it and run and be as foul as they possibly can manage to be. Because, again, that does not show me somebody that's spiritual. If you're spiritual, listen to my videos. If you have a genuine comment, other than just being foul-mouthed and cursing and calling me every name under the book and being as nasty as you can, come back with something intelligent. Come back with an intelligent point to something that is said. Come back with some intelligence, because being foul-mouthed is not intelligent. I'm sorry. It doesn't show me that you've seen anything, you understand anything. Okay? It just shows somebody who's got a knee-jerk reaction and has no wisdom to counter anything. Okay? If you think you have wisdom, come back and say something intelligent. Okay? And maybe you would learn something. Okay? But it doesn't take any kind of wisdom or intelligence. It doesn't show that you know anything when all you can do is spout a bunch of expletives and be nasty. All it shows is it's somebody that doesn't understand the path of spirituality at all. And they have no regard for anything or anyone, not even their teacher. Because when you do things like this, it's a reflection on your guru. Okay? That's why I don't allow any student to do something like that, because if one of my students ran around and were foul-mouthed like that, it would be a reflection on what's being taught here. If I'm not teaching that, then they need to be gone. Okay? That's it. The students here that I've taken, there's no smoking, no drinking, no drugs. Okay? Absolutely not. If they're doing smoking, drinking, drugs, then they need to be down the road. That was when the path was very strict here. And I most certainly wouldn't allow that type of verbal garbage being thrown at anyone if I don't allow even smoking, drinking, or drugs in any way, shape, or form. I'm surely not going to allow them to denigrate any temple with that type of garbage coming out of their mouth. Okay? So again, think about what you're doing. Those that want to be spiritual seekers, if you're a genuine spiritual seeker and you're not just playing a game, and there are a lot of people out there that are just playing a game. They want to play at spirituality. They don't want the actuality. They don't want to actually learn. They just want something to take up their time, like going to see a circus. Okay? Any guru is just another circus performer to them. Okay? If you're in that category, I understand why you're doing that. But if you tell me you're a serious spiritual seeker and you're doing those type of activities, they need to stop, and stop now. And you need to go back and apologize to those people which you are accosting in that way. Okay? You need to make it right so you can move forward in your path. Because I guarantee the universe is not going to honor that. I can guarantee you that. The universe will not honor somebody that says they're a spiritual student and that they think they're smart enough to run around and denigrate spiritual teachers. Very stupid, very foolish, very ignorant. Okay. So I think we'll close this out now, here. And hopefully somebody has heard something from this video and gets something from it that will be beneficial to them so that they can move forward in their spiritual journey, rather than winding up creating more and more karma for themselves, rather than getting in more delusion, rather than breaking through to reality. So I will do this. Namaste. Have a great day. Bye, guys.